So we just wrapped up UFC Fight Night, and we're going to be talking about the contest between Jared Cannonier and Marvin Vettori. Now, I had a few big takeaways from this fight, and a few things that I learned about both of these men. The first thing is just how tough Marvin Vettori is. He was battered, he was beaten, and he was butchered within that second round. Now, I don't know if any of you guys watched the fight, but it was pretty even within the first round. But in the second round, Jared Cannonier really turned it up on Marvin Vettori, absolutely battered him from pillar to post within the contest. Now, for those of you that didn't watch the fight, within the first round, it was a pretty even contest. Both Vettori and Jared Cannonier landing some pretty solid strikes against one another, both rocking each other a little bit, and it was a pretty even round and a good showing from both of these fighters. But things turned around very, very quickly. Things changed on a dime within the second round. Jared Cannonier put an absolute beating on Marvin Vettori, and I thought he was going to get him out of there. For about 4 minutes straight, he was throwing jabs, beautiful combinations and right hooks, and really piecing up Marvin Vettori quite badly, rocking him on several occasions, getting him to the ground and landing some vicious ground and pound, and it was very, very hard to watch. You're just watching it and you're thinking, I can't believe Marvin Vettori is still standing. And there's one thing for sure that we've learned is that Marvin Vettori has heart. That guy just does not stop coming at you, and it's no surprise to me after watching this of why he's yet to be finished within the UFC. To go out there and take the punishment that he did within the second round, it's very clear how much of a good fighter Marvin Vettori is. Now, I know he didn't win the fight, and we're going to be talking about Jared Cannonier in a second, but when you've seen him go into his corner, how Marvin Vettori listens to his coaches, he listens to his team and trusts their judgment, and he actually goes out there and implements it. A lot of fighters that maybe are a lot more talented than what he is don't have the record that he does. And I think it just boils down to listening to the people within your corner, listening to their expertise and actually trusting them with what they're saying. And I really enjoyed watching Marvin Vettori come out in the third and the fourth and really try to work himself back in this fight. Now, he didn't win a round after the first round, but he continually went out there and continued to try and implement his game plan and win the fight. And look, that is something that I absolutely respect. So hats off to Marvin Vettori there. But let's just talk about Jared Cannonier. What an absolutely fantastic performance from him. He's shown that he definitely has a lot more juice left in the tank, and he can definitely get another shot at that middleweight strap. I was most impressed by this performance from him. I mean, what an absolute veteran of the game. A very aged fighter, but still doesn't look like he's missing a beat, does he? He put the pressure on Marvin Vettori right from the opening bell and walked him down for 5 rounds straight. Now, it looked like to me that Marvin Vettori was just fading and he couldn't keep up with that pace of Jared Cannonier. You know, for a guy that has so much size and so much muscularity and definition, Jared Cannonier's gas tank is absolutely fantastic. And that was a huge factor within this fight as well. You could just see him keep up this consistent pace against Marvin Vettori, and Vettori just couldn't match it for the entirety of the fight. You know, Vettori did have bursts here and there where he was matching it with Jared Cannonier, but as each round wore on, slowly, about halfway through each round, you just seen Jared Cannonier taking over and putting an absolute beating on Marvin. So I was very, very impressed with Jared Cannonier. What do you guys think is actually next for both of these fighters? I think a good potential matchup for Vettori next personally is facing the loser of Robert Whittaker versus Duplessis. I just think that's where he sits right now, you know, in this weird sort of spot, still very high level, but still needs to fight for that spot. He still needs to fight for his spot now. And I think facing the loser of that contest will really give us a bit of a better idea of, you know, what can Vettori do with his career in the UFC moving forward from here? And Jared Cannonier, let me know your thoughts, because I was quite impressed. You know, I know his fight against Israel Adesanya wasn't very anything to boast home about, and he didn't really put on a performance that I'm sure he would have been too happy with. But after seeing him tonight, I'd be more than happy for him to make another run at that title, because I think a second time around, we're going to get a much better contest. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. So I guess we'll just see what eventuates at UFC 290, see what the outcomes are of some of these bouts. But it would be interesting to see the winner of Whittaker and Duplessis face Marvin Vettori next. And as we know, on that card, we've got the massive main event between Yair Rodriguez and Alexander Volkanovski. The whole card here was looking lackluster for quite some time, but I've just been looking at it now, and man, we've got Brandon Moreno, Alexander Pantoja, Robert Whittaker, Duplessis, Dan Hooker's on the card, Bo Nickel. I mean, guys, this is going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, if you want to see my breakdown for the fight between Alexander Volkanovski and Yair Rodriguez, feel free to check that out in the description below. And I will be breaking down the other fights that are on this card as well and giving you guys my thoughts on that also. So thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. If you do like this sort of content, please feel free to hit subscribe, and I'll catch you all later.